you look around the league, there's a lot of teams, in the hunt. We're in the hunt. You sit here and you say, hey, Thanksgiving, and close to the end of November, and we're in the hunt. When you sit around that table tomorrow, you're saying we're in the hunt. And there's a lot of teams that wish they were in the hunt. But we're in the hunt.
I know you just asked me to do an intro, and I was gonna do a Greg intro, but you gave me like 2 seconds to think. All right, I got one. This season was like my grandma. In the beginning of the season, she was alive, and then by the end, she wasn't.
Okay, that's not bad.
In the hunt. I don't even know if his grandma. I think his grandma did die this year. Maybe not. Maybe I'm mixing up his grandma dog or something. Anyways, welcome to In the Hunt. It's Sean Murphy, and as always, one of our prized guests. I feel like you've become the annual season review guest. Joe B's our draft preview, and Duffy is our season review.
Well, look, in show business, I had 2 goals, was to make a living doing it and to be the key guest on a podcast that has 15 Patreons. So it's an honor to be here, guys. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Well, I mean, what does it feel like to be such a success? You're 2 for 2.
Yeah.
You know what's funny, man? Like, I mean, you guys worked in business like this business before, right? Like, I've had 5 people stop me and be like, "Oh, I heard you on In the Hunt podcast," and I want to grab them and be like, "Get a hobby! What the hell is wrong with you people? Like, of all the things, I'm on literally like 7 different things, and this piece of crap is what you stop me and want to talk to me about? You psycho!"
We've told this story 100 times, but one time, as I just said, we have Joe Biscaglia on for our draft preview, and one time someone tweeted at all of us and was like, "Hey, the Joe B episode was great. I never heard of this guy." I subscribed to The Athletic, and we were like, "You're fucking kidding me right now, dude? He knew who Sean Murphy and Kyle Turner and Greg Bauk were, and did not know Joe B, and he was a Bills fan."
And by the way, Joe B did not take that well, right? Like, he smelled like, aha. As soon as he put his laptop down, like the rest of the night, he was like, so much hard. Oh, there's so many long ties and socks now to make that perfect drag about himself.
And we should mention that Greg is not here. He's not quitting the pod. He just had a work thing come up, and that's why he's not here.
Yeah. We've been very vocal on our podcast about possibly cutting the Patreon and Greg leaving, and all of our fan is like, "Don't do it, man." So he's still with us.
Yeah.
He's just not here right now.
Well, we have a lot of things to talk about. Let's start with the Super Bowl. Did you watch? What did you think? I'm going to start with a hot take. I think that was defensive holding. I know that's not the ideal way to end a Super Bowl, but also Eagles fans, you can't cry about a phantom call when your road to the Super Bowl was Daniel Jones, Josh Johnson, and a one-legged Mahomes. You had a horseshoe in your ass all year. You're blessed. They were the most blessed team of the year, I felt like.
No, I think that's a fair take. Although, I mean, phantom call or not, the guy was like, "Yeah, I held him."
Yeah, exactly.
It's kind of hard to argue when he comes out after the game where
Yes.
it's like, yeah, which, by the way, I guess I can respect that as a man. Like, that's the right thing to do. But, like, shut up. If I'm a fan of the Eagles, don't say that out loud. I want to be mad. There's nothing we can do about this. Just let me sulk in my anger, and if someone had taken out on you, being a stand-up guy does not help my situation here and trying to feel better about what went down.
It was funny because as soon as the game ended, the referee, I think it was Juju was the receiver, and the defender, they all came out and said that was holding. So like even if you're complaining about it, you're like, well, I mean, all right, I guess it was.
Yeah, no one should be surprised, because I know the other argument was like, you can't call that play at that time. But then what slippery slope is that? You could say that about it. You're, middle of the second quarter, and you're like, yeah, but you knew it would affect them. And you're like, yeah, I don't know what to do anymore.
Yeah.
No, I'm with you 100% because, like, I mean, I'm a big Sabres fan too. I hate that argument in hockey because that happens in hockey. They just put the whistles away in the last 5 minutes in overtime. It's like, hey, were we playing a game here? Remember the rules of this game? Do the rules of the game no longer apply anymore? Like, it sucks. I get why he did it. I mean, his logic behind it, I'm just going to try and get away with one, makes perfect sense. The ultimate irony there is with there was a $130, I think, left when he committed that hold. If Juju Smith-Schuster came wide open and caught that touchdown pass, the chances that the Eagles win that game are exponentially higher because you have $1.50 to go down the field, score a touchdown, tied up, and go in overtime, which the Eagles showed throughout the game. They had no problem marching down the field and scoring on that team. Like, that defensive holding was the worst possible thing in the worst possible moment in the biggest game, arguably, in that franchise's history.
I will also add in, I don't know, I'm back-to-back hot takes here. I'm really just throwing fireballs to start this podcast. Now that the Bills are good, don't watch the Super Bowl. I don't give a shit anymore. It might be a bad take, but it's my take, and I'm standing by it. When the Bills were bad, it was like watching a different sport. You're like, oh, which one of these good teams are going to win the Super Bowl? But now I'm like, the Bills would beat the shit out of both these teams. They beat the Chiefs. They already beat the Chiefs. Like, it like hurts too much. It's too fresh for me.
Yeah, I definitely. I mean, I watch it. I'm not one of those guys who like you were saying, Sean. I'm not one of those guys who's like, if the Bills aren't in it, I'm not fucking watching it. This sport sucks. I watch it. I bet on it just to give me extra play, and but I do since 2020, I have watched the Super Bowl and the entire time been like, how would the Bills react to this? How would the offense do this? Blah, blah, blah. So I watch it as I guess I don't want to say a scout because that seems demeaning to real scouts. But
Yeah,
I do sit there and I go, oh, do I think the Bills would have, how would the Bills have attacked this game?
Sean, you didn't watch the Super Bowl.
No.
The 6 in 10 Americans. What do you do what did you do instead of watching the Super Bowl? You psycho?
I did comedy. I did comedy that night. Was it fun? Not really, but I did work technically. And I'm not like a zealot. I'm not like walking by TVs like I can't see an image of it. It's just like it doesn't have that juice for me anymore. You know.
Can I ask a quick sidebar question? Because we've all done comedy. Been in front of crowds. Different nights give you different crowds. I don't want to imagine the nightmare that is I'm going to the Comedy Cellar instead of watching the Super Bowl crowd. Like, how many people that didn't speak English were sitting in that audience that night?
It was better than you expect, but not good. I'll say that.
I'll say this, Duffy. During the year, the Bills played the Patriots on primetime and at Foxborough. And I did a show at Helium. Not only was there a Bills primetime game, there was a Sabres home game, which the club is next to the arena. Also, Corey Feldman was playing a concert right behind the club.
Which actually brought more people into the comedy show.
And about 50, 60 people still came out to Helium, but one woman did have a seizure. So,
oh my Lord.
She lived. It ends well. But I want to say those are the type of people that watch comedy instead of football.
Oh my God.
Well,
oh my God.
I will say, it's like Kyle has been opening with his new flashing lights bit, which is, I tell him, is not a great opener.
I'm pretending I'm one of those guys that flags planes down with my lights, and it just sees up.
I guess I'm sorry. I have more follow-up questions on Mr. I Don't Want Super Bowl over here. Like, you have friends, Sean, and you have lots of friends that like sports and football. Do you just not talk to anybody then after for a week? Because anybody wants to talk about.
I know what happened. You know what? Here's another thing. This is a hot take within a hot take. The Super Bowl, a lot of times, it's annoying because when I watch football, I kind of want to watch football. And the Super Bowl, you inevitably... you're at a party with at least one person who's like, now, what do they have to do to get a first down, is it called? And it's just like, I don't want to hear that.
Okay, I understand. What you need to do a better job of is controlling your environment, Sean, because I don't.
I did. That's why I didn't watch it. I'm doing a great job of it.
Look. Okay, fine. But I'm saying, like, even for Bills games, like, there are like 3 people in my life that I can watch a Bills game with. And this is going to sound 1950s husband, and I don't mean it to sound that way because I love my wife, but I've had to train my wife as to how to watch Bills games with me because she had no interest in football at all before I met her, but she sees this as like a bonding experience now. So like the first 2 years we were together, I would have to be like, okay, we're going to time out right now. Here's what you did wrong. Here's what you probably shouldn't do again. And I love you, and you can have my full attention at any other time during the week. But if you're going to be around now, this is how it has to be. And I'm sorry, and I love you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, that's very precise communicate. It's good communication skills, is what that is.
Right through.
We got. Let's talk about some coaching shit here. The Bills fired their safeties coach. We all know that was the big problem all year. Kyle was talking about. Got to get rid of that safeties coach.
Wait, you want to talk about like locking? Hey man, listen, you lost one of your guys, your best safety for the season. Other guy died. You were the problem.
Yeah, I know that is bummer to face that adversity, and you're like, okay. Like,
the McDermott went up to him like, how come you didn't stop the Hamlin thing? I didn't really have a shot. He's like, nah, you're gone. We don't want that to happen again. You got to coach your guys not to have a heart attack.
The wide receiver and assistant OL coach left. New wide receiver coach who worked a lot with OBJ. That came through actually today. They hired Al Holcomb as a defensive assistant, which of course everyone on Twitter just complains about because they think he's going to be like bad for some reason. But if you're not going to get a new DC, why not get an extra guy in there? Who knows? Maybe an extra brain in that room helps the situation.
So with the hire for the wide receivers coach, is this a telegraph that the Bills are now going after Odell Beckham Jr. again in the offseason? Because like he literally has worked every spot he's worked the last however many years, LSU, New York Giants, Cleveland Browns, he was working with Odell Beckham Jr.
Yeah, and it is. I kind of in a second here we're going to get to our hot takes exposed from our season preview episode. But it was funny of all year, everyone, including us, talked about OBJ. He didn't sign with anyone. Like what a nothing of a story that turned out to be.
Even Jerry Jones wasn't stupid enough to pull the trigger on that one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
like that should tell you how little people wanted when they figured out what was going on with this team. Like if Jerry Jones won't roll the dice on you with all of the monsters and retreads that he has rolled the dice on over there, like we're talking guys with like multiple men with multiple felonies that no one else in the league would touch. Jerry Jones, like, yeah, come on in, let's do this thing. And even though I can do, yeah, I don't know, so great.
And he was up front back in that, like in November, they're talking about it. He was like, yeah, I don't think it's going to happen. Like in a press conference.
Well, and speaking of where there's maybe smoke, there's fire. Jets hired Nathaniel Hackett as OC. Obviously, that didn't work with Rodgers coming to Denver, but maybe is there something here? Here's a quick thing. Just before we recorded, I found out this blew me away. DraftKings, you could bet on the Super Bowl winner next year. And the Chiefs are number one, best odds. Bills are number two. Jets are 9. Jets are 9th, which means Vegas thinks they're getting, at minimum, a sizable QB upgrade. They look at that roster and they say the roster
have to.
Yeah, that's true. But I'm not saying Rodgers is going to go there, but if they get someone, Vegas thinks they're going to be dangerous next year.
Do you have that list in front of you?
I have the top 10.
Are the Browns in it?
The Browns are not in the top 10. So it goes.
That's interesting only because they have, quote unquote, the guy, and they don't think he's going to work out. That's all that, which is more crazy to think that they're ready to put it on the line that the Jets will still be good with a average quarterback or an old Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah,
Sorry, go ahead, Sean.
It goes Chiefs, Bills, 49ers, Eagles 4th, Bengals 5th, Cowboys, Ravens, Chargers, Jaguars, and Jets tied at 9. Those are your top 10.
I mean, Derek Carr is also in play here for the Jets too, right? Like, I don't know, man. Like, there's two. You want to talk about hot takes? Aaron Rodgers is done outside of Green Bay, right? Because he's not going to get the leash anywhere else that he gets in Green Bay. Like, Robert Saleh handled that Zach Wilson situation in New York so poorly. Like, as I was watching that thing play out, I just saw visions of Rex Ryan over again. Like, this is how I'm going to do my things. And if you guys don't like it, well, too bad. Oh, you don't like it? Oh, crap, I screwed up really bad. Like, you rode with him. That was your pick. That was your general manager's pick. You spent the second overall pick on him. And halfway through his second season, it's completely done. But you bring up Nathaniel Hackett and the reason he was signed in New York. And the idea is he's going to bring Aaron Rodgers with him. Maybe that's the case. But I'd like to share something with you guys, because I got a little Nathaniel Hackett insight for you.
Ooh, this is why we have you on the pod.
Look, man, me and Joe B only with the hottest insider takes. So Nathaniel Hackett gets that job in Denver last year, too, and nobody can figure out why. The radio show that I'm on in Rochester, The Break Room, we broadcast live from Bill's training camp every year, like interview coaches and players. And the one year Nathaniel Hackett was in Buffalo as the offensive coordinator, he comes on the show. It's like 7 o'clock in the morning. Nobody really knows who he is. So I'm anticipating it being like this terrible, awful, boring coordinator interview, right? And Nathaniel Hackett is the most engaging, nicest, energetic, seems brilliant person I've ever met in my life. He was on with us for 20 minutes. He was so cool. He's got this air about him where you think he knows everything in the world, but not in a condescending way. Like, if that guy was like, listen, after the interview, like, I was so taken by Nathaniel Hackett. If after the interview was like, listen, we're going to go over here, we're going to put on a bunch of robes, and you're going to drink this, I'd be like, okay, great, let's do this thing. Like, I can completely understand how he walks in these interviews with the Broncos, with the Packers, with the Browns when he got that job initially, and then with the Jets, and they're blown away by how he's able to conduct himself. Like, I want him to be my best friend, and I hung out with him for 20 minutes 6 years ago. Like, I love Nathaniel Hackett as a person, and in no other way.
He's the Tom Cruise of NFL coaches. You know, he just has that charisma.
I was gonna say he sounds like he's got a little in a good way, a little Joe Rogan to him, where you just listen to a podcast and you're like, oh, this guy, I think he knows everything, and then maybe you dig a little deep and you're like, oh no, he just talks a lot.
No, but I'm telling you, man, like, even for the rest of the time we were at Bill's camp, like, we interacted for 20 minutes. I'm a nobody in his world, right? He doesn't need me in any way. Every day, he remembered my name. He would go out of his way to say hello. He would shake my hand. How you doing? How's things? Like, he was just such a good guy. I miss him. I miss Nathaniel Hackett as a human being.
Well, I mean, are you scared of the Jets next year? I mean,
No.
Oh, okay. So not at all.
Sorry, I didn't mean to jump on you.
Like, because they gotta get someone better than Mike White. Whether there's a Derek Carr and Aaron Rodgers, whomever. I think they would have beaten us. They beat us one time. I think they would beat us both games if their quarterback play was a little better. So, I mean, I don't know if I'm like Super Bowl scared of them, but I think if their quarterback play gets at least 25% better, I think they're number 2 in that division.
I mean, number 2 in the division, I think, is fair. I will say this, especially in New York City, playing with expectations versus playing without expectations is a world of difference. Because you can make an argument about the quarterback play. You can also make an argument that Mike White coming in halfway through the season before Matt Milano broke him in half was an upgrade in quarterback play, yet the record got worse. As the expectations got heavier on Robert Saleh in New York and New Jersey, the play disintegrated. You can make the same argument with the players. I don't think it's possible. And if you look back in history, it ain't just Saleh, it's Rex Ryan, it's Richie Kotite, it's Pete Carroll. I don't think it's possible to win a Super Bowl as the Jets, as the second place team fighting for attention with all of the crushing expectations that fall down upon you.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. The good news is that they're always going to be just good enough to not get a top quarterback. So keep going with the retreads, Jets. I don't care.
No, you're right. They have a very Billsy, very drought Billsy feel to them, where the defense is really good, right? You feel like the coach is
great
right
running back.
Yes, exactly. And like, they just can't put it. You're going to get a game or two every year where you're going to get a win where it's like, whoa, are these guys good? Mm-hmm. Are they good? And then no, they're not good.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of Aaron Rodgers, since our last episode, he came out, he blamed his villain status on Big Pharma. And he mentioned that now he goes on a darkness retreat where he spends 4 days isolated in complete darkness. We don't say this enough about Aaron Rodgers, but what a fucking dork. Like, what a just capital D dork.
Capital D.
No, I mean, you're right, man. Like, this is what happens. Like, you look at those kids in band and who played Magic the Gathering and Dungeons and Dragons, and I'm looking at you too, so this might have been you guys. But like, you feel bad for them, and you go, oh, I wish those guys would catch a break. And then one of them does and gets famous, and you're like, oh, that's why you fucking have to be where you are when you're in high school. That's why you're held in the spot that you are by those people.
But you know what? I'll say this. Better to be a dork when you should be a dork than when you're a grown adult. Get your dorkiness, your hardcore dorkiness should be 14 to 19. And you know, like, you shouldn't be like, I'm going to do a darkness retreat when I'm 35. What are you doing?
I'm fine with people finding themselves later in life,
It sounds like someone's doing a darkness retreat this week.
Bro, this podcast is a darkness retreat.
So you've seen the numbers too.
Can I ask a darkness retreat question? And I'm sincere when I ask this, because like he was describing it to Pat McAfee on his podcast, and he goes to Italy. He sits in a room for 4 days. It's just a little slit that opens where they slide food through, but it's no noise, no stimulation. It's complete darkness. How do you take a dump?
Hmm.
Do you just dump on the floor? And if it's complete darkness, how do you not step in your own shit for 4 days?
Kyle, care to answer? You have one scheduled.
I gave up shitting 3 years ago. So I wouldn't know. I pissed in my own mouth. So
that wouldn't surprise me if Aaron Rodgers was just like, oh yeah, just stop shitting. I just don't do that anymore.
That's what Russell Wilson said he does. He said he shits like once every 2 weeks now.
Oh, he didn't say that.
I swear to God, before the season, he said he trained his body to have like, I think he said 1 bowel movement a week, and the extra in his body gives him padding to take hits in the NFL. Unless I got completely clickbaited by The Onion, but it's a real thing. He said that.
Well, that's impossible. That sounds dangerous, man. I'm not a doctor, but take a shit, Russell Wilson. But like Aaron Rodgers is such a clown now with the way that he speaks. It's like he's one of these guys, right? I mean, you guys can agree. It's okay to not know everything. You're supposed to not know everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Aaron Rodgers seems like one of these guys where he has to make you feel like he knows everything, and in so has these massive oversights. Like, Aaron Rodgers hasn't thought about where he's going to shit for 4 days, and he's going to get there, be put in the room, and the second the door closes, he's going to go, oh my God, where do I shit? Well, I can't ask anybody now. Now it's too embarrassing. And there's just shit down the back of his legs for 4 days because he's an asshole.
Can't you see him when they open up the slit to push in the food? He like catches it and he's like, hey, where do I shit? I put the shit through the slit, or do you guys grab it, or do I keep it?
What's the shit through the slit? Is that a slit shit? Is that what we're doing here, guys?
So the Russell Wilson poop story was bogus. It was sent around. There was an interview with him in The Athletic which is true, that he works out for hours on like planes. And he does a bunch of weird stuff, and then someone added that poop story to see if people would believe it, and people did.
Well, people shouldn't lie.
Yeah, if you take anything from this episode, take shits, don't lie. Those are the top two things we want you to know.
Don't lie.
Can
we talk about the Bills yet?
Yeah, what do you want to talk about? Yeah.
Well, we're a Bills podcast.
Okay, I got some Bills. You want to go through our season predictions?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
You're even fired up and tailed off there at the end.
I know.
I do like this segment where I'm an idiot from.
Kyle's like a little kid. He's like, "Can we get ice cream? Do you want a cookie?" Yeah. Okay. Okay. Here's the season predictions we made. I said the Bills would be 13-4. Not bad.
Well,
not bad.
Probably would have been right.
Yeah. I also said we were going to go to the Super Bowl. That was wrong. I also, this is rough. I said I don't get the hype on the 49ers and the Eagles. Although, I'm to be honest, I still don't get the hype on the Eagles. Like, I think it's not an accident to me that they almost won the Super Bowl and they have the 5th best Super Bowl odds right now. I think they're good. I was wrong about them not being good, but I don't think I think they take a half step back next year. I'm calling that right now. I said the Raiders were a bit underrated and they'd have a better record than the Broncos. That's pretty good. That's a pretty good call.
Well, I wouldn't say underrated, but
Underrated? What? What do you?
No, I said, yeah, I mean, they weren't, but I said they'd be better than the Broncos, which is true.
Okay, but I mean, we can't focus on, you still got the first one. That was more wrong than the.
Yeah, okay. Listen, I'm doing okay. As you'll see,
okay.
Other thing, I'm doing okay. I said Miami was going to pass New England in the division, but Tua is only going to be okay.
That one's up in the air.
That one's up in the air too. I give myself a B- on all those.
Well, it's nice that you were nice to yourself there.
Yeah,
We should
and
all
that's what's
accept
most
that.
important. Greg said the Bills would be 9-8.
Asshole.
I'm nervous to what I said because that sounds about like.
But he also said that Josh Allen would have a good year.
I love and I hate Greg with a burning passion. Like the passionate love I have for him and the burning hatred I have for him somehow coexist inside my body like an 8th grader yin yang on like a notebook. It's insanity.
Kyle said the Bills would be 10-7.
All right.
Said there's going to be.
Wait, hold on, stop. All right. You were from like 25% of wins off there.
Yeah.
But I was closer than Greg.
It's true.
You also said there's going to be some wild winter games that would force us to build a dome.
Ooh.
And you also said, this is another plus in your column, you said Jacksonville is being underrated.
Okay.
That was a good call.
I was right on that,
Yeah.
I think. Yeah. Did not look that well.
Yeah. Also, our own Louis G said the Bengals were super overrated, and Kyle agreed. The team that beat us in the playoffs. Kyle said that if before the Jets loss, you said that if we lost to the Jets, it would be worse than the Jacksonville loss. And that was the only time all year you predicted the Bills would win a game. And they lost.
So a B-.
So another B-. Another thing I thought was funny, just because this seems like it came out of another like 3 years ago. In the opening game this year, Zach Moss had 6 receptions. Doesn't that seem like I made that up?
Wait, is that a real thing?
In week 1 of this year, Zach Moss had 6 receptions. Just crazy.
Now is Kelly Holcomb playing quarterback in that first game?
Okay, I got some Bills things to talk about here. Diggs seems a little unhappy, I think in a good way. I think some people are making too big of a deal out of this. Do you guys have any thoughts on Diggs's mental state? You okay with it? You think it's going to be a problem? I think they got to get him the ball more. I'll say that much.
I think it's a problem if he starts acting like that during wins. Mm-hmm. I don't care if a person acts up during a loss. Especially when you're not getting the ball, which he wasn't. If he starts doing like a TO thing where they're winning the game and he's like, you got to throw me the ball, man, then it's an issue. And that hasn't happened in 3 years. So until that starts happening, I don't care.
There's this battle inside me right now. Because like I like Stefon Diggs a lot, and he's super talented. And I saw a great tweet like a couple of weeks ago where it was something along the lines of people are blaming Stefon Diggs for being a drama queen, but we're going to find out in a couple of years he was actually the canary in the coal mine about this offense. Which that makes sense. So like I'm cool with him doing what he's doing right now, but like there's that old school blue collar football little part of me deep down that's like, what? Don't you want your quarterback? What are you doing over there? You play, but you don't dance. You don't put on a hat on the
side. You give the ball to the ref after you score.
Like watching Stefon Diggs do this, I was like fighting that inner old man in me, and I've never had that before. Like it started showing me like I'm getting older and crankier as I was upset with myself for getting a little upset with Stefon Diggs for doing what he was doing on the sidelines with Josh Allen.
Well, and also to your point, it makes you worry that he's on to something. He was on to something in Minnesota. We all knew, even when the offense was putting up a lot of points this year, they seemed a little off for large stretches. Large stretches where Stephon didn't get the ball as much as you should give your number one playmaker a ball. So like you almost have that thing of like, is he, like you said, the canary in the coal mine a little bit?
Here's the interesting part too. When he was talking about Minnesota, everyone outside of Minnesota was like, yeah, he's right. Kirk Cousins ain't the guy. They don't pass it enough. They're trying to focus on running. They don't give him the ball enough. And so everyone outside of Minnesota, again, was right. And I'm sure their fans were like, hey, you shouldn't talk like that. And now he's here, and he's kind of, at least this last season, or this after the season, saying these things. And now everyone here is critical, when in actuality, again, he's probably right. But are we mad at him for being right?
Yeah. I think most people are like, they're not really mad at him. I think it's like, a lot of people are saying you want some people like on your team upset when you lose. That's like, a little bit of that is healthy.
Yeah, but I mean, he did publicly show up our beautiful baby boy. I mean, that's the problem,
Me?
right? If he,
John, okay.
if he was doing it to Dorsey, if he was, you know what I mean? Like everything, that's fine. The fact that Josh Allen is so damn lovable and everybody's all American, and you're doing that on the sideline in front of him while Josh is doing that awkward, my girlfriend is drunk at this party and I know I can't leave, but if I look at her, it's going to get worse kind of thing. Like, I think that's the fatal flaw, and why people have the biggest problem is what he did to Josh.
I had a question, now that we're talking about the offense here, Duffy, that you are a very optimistic person, unlike myself. Now, during the season, were you one of the guys that when I assume people would call your radio show and say, this offense looks bad? Were you one of the guys that were like, it doesn't, they're still winning, they're putting up points? But Stephon Diggs himself, one, stats will say otherwise. And then two, Stephon Diggs himself said in that, I believe it was Dan Patrick interview, maybe a different guy, but said like, after week 9, the way we were winning wasn't going to be sustainable. I believe along the lines of what Stephon Diggs said.
Yeah, he said exactly week 9, yeah.
So looking back, now that we lost the way we lost, are you kind of like, maybe I was letting my Google eyes kind of get in there and be like, no, everything's perfect, instead of looking at it objectively kind of and being like, I guess they did suck for a little part?
To answer your first question, yes, I was that optimistic guy yelling at people who were calling the show. To answer your second question, I will never admit I'm wrong. I'll just make fun of the way that you look so I don't feel bad about myself. No, but I mean, even now, when Stephon Diggs saying the things that he said, I guess it makes sense. But you also look at what that team was going through post week 9, right? Josh Allen has this injury that nobody is being told how serious it is. He was supposed to miss 2 to 4 weeks. We find out after the season he didn't miss a game. You have 3 road games in 12 days, which you managed to win all 3. A guy died. Like, all of these things are not normal things. And yes, you're right. The offensive numbers weren't there. I do also think here, there are those Bills fans that want to go in and start messing with this offense in all kinds of ways. We are forgetting that Ken Dorsey is a first-year play caller that still was top 3 in points, yardage, all kinds of offensive metrics. It was a very impressive season that he had. Look, man, I get the frustration, but in hindsight, there were legitimate, logical reasons as to why these things happen.
And I think we forget, too, that, like, coaches, like a player takes time to, like, Josh Allen wasn't this Josh Allen year 1. It takes a while. I mean, people said Andy Reid didn't know what he was doing with clock management until year 14. Or whatever the hell it was, like, and, of course you don't want to wait that long because Josh Allen only has X amount of years, but like, yeah, I'm not ready to give up on, it's frustrating. I get the frustration, but I'm not ready to make any wholesale changes.
I think so are you, this question too, Duffy, are you completely okay with Dorsey? Or because I know I think everyone's kind of coming to the realization now that stuff is coming out about the elbow, that the elbow affected a lot. But there were still some like insanely questionable play calls throughout that second half of the season where you're like, hey man, just make it a little easier. What's going on? Now, I can't imagine a world where Josh Allen's injury doesn't allows him to throw 70 yards downfield, but not a 5-yard slant.
Well, I'm sorry,
I
to your
don't
point, I mean, Josh did talk about the touch on the ball was the big problem, not the ability to throw the ball. So, I mean, it could be the case, but I don't know. I mean, I'm not a elbow doctor. What do you call it? That's how stupid I am. I don't know what an elbow doctor is called. No, but I mean, I don't know the answer to that question because what also gets muddied up here is the freedom that Josh Allen has to change things at the line. Do you understand what I'm saying? I mean, there's a lot of talking. Like when Josh goes to the line, does he have two specific plays where he's able to cancel one and call the other, and both of those are Dorsey's call? Does he have the ability, carte blanche, to look at what the offense is doing? And the reason I bring this up is if you look at the run-pass option that this Bills offense has run the last couple of years, when Josh Allen is part of the run-pass option, there is no option. He always takes the ball and goes with it. I've never seen once in one of those mesh plays where Josh Allen's like, you take it. No, he pulls it in and he's going around the corner. So is it Dorsey? Is it Josh wanting to win the game at every play? Is it a miscommunication between what those two are seeing on the field? I don't know. I don't know.
Well, let's move into a couple like off-season things, which is, the big free agents, Edmonds, Poyer. You would think the way things are leaning right now, February 15th, you would think Poyer's probably gone and they probably try and get Edmonds back if they could work him in the cap. I feel like that's the way it's looking now. Maybe you luck out and you get like a Shaq Lawson or a Jordan Phillips on, veteran minimums if you can squeeze that in. But like, do you have any thoughts on that? Edmonds probably his best year all year. He even got Kyle on his side, and that's pretty impressive.
I don't lie.
Yeah,
if he's having a good year, I'd say it. He just had 4 bad ones before.
Yeah, you don't lie and you shit. That's why you're on the pod.
Always goes to his elbow doctor. That's why his elbows are always healthy. No, I mean, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go.
Is that what? Do you agree with that plan? Do you want to? I mean, where your head at with the kind of current free agent crop that we have to deal with?
So, I mean, Edmonds is the most valuable of all of those guys. You have to figure out a way to bring Edmonds back. And there's 2 games that point to why Edmonds is so valuable. The Browns game in Detroit and the Thanksgiving Day game against Detroit. Tremaine Edmonds is so fast and so big that he affects the middle of the field in even corners when it comes to passing the ball. Dane Jackson had his worst games of the season against Cleveland and against Detroit because he had to cover an extra 3 yards of field towards the middle that Tremaine Edmonds was able to cover because he's so fast and so big. And when you don't have someone of that size that can cover that much ground, that system that the Bills were able to run with no-name corners the last couple of years completely falls apart. And you end up in a shootout with Jared Goff. And nobody wants to be in a shootout with Jared Goff.
That's a little concerning that the defense falls apart. I realize, he's a good player, but like, man, the fall off from the middle linebacker, which I feel like these days, it's not like the early 2000s where like you needed your middle linebacker. And yeah, it's weird that our defense it just feels like Von Miller goes out. The whole line goes from very good to essentially below average. And then the linebacker core, one guy out, gone. Matt Milano can't make up for it, even though he's phenomenal. And I mean, the secondary this year was a mess anyway, so it's tough to get into that. But it's a little concerning that one guy does such a massive thing that isn't a quarterback.
Yeah, but I mean, the Bills have always had that, especially under Frazier, like the safeties and the middle linebacker have been like their cornerstones. Whereas a lot of other teams have kind of like the edge and maybe like, the corners as that.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead. No.
You were going to say something way smarter. Go ahead.
I was going to ask you a question about how the defense was, the 2 coordinators took a lot of heat this year. So we covered Dorsey. You're totally fine giving Dorsey, like not firing him. You didn't jump that where you're like, I need him out of here. I need a established guy. Were you the same with Frazier, or are you kind of, because Frazier, I said this after the Bengals game where I was like, at a certain point, you feel like you kind of got to change something up And I don't know if safeties coach is that, but it's just in general of like, can't shit get stale after a while?
I mean, I understand that argument. Don't get me wrong. But I mean, I guess the question is who's better, right? Because if the argument is, well, Dorsey sucks because he doesn't have any experience, so we got to get rid of him and find someone that knows what they're doing. Well, if you get rid of Frazier, odds are that you're bringing in someone with little to no experience to run that defense. So I don't get the argument of, well, we got to get rid of this guy because he doesn't know what he's doing. You know what we need over here? Someone who doesn't know what he's doing to really freshen up this defense.
Yeah. I mean, when the season first ended and people were like, Brian Flores was getting head coaching, Vic Fangio was getting, where they were clear not going to be head coaches.
Who's, by the way, now with Miami, which
with
is
Miami.
a good hire.
I said this before, so sorry if people are listening and it's a repeat, but I feel like it's this thing of like, you can't be scared to try to get better. And Frazier is good. I do feel like the offense putting up 30 points a game helps him out tremendously. But, it's just that thing of, like I said, like, oh, I want to get better, but we're good enough. So I'm fine being good enough.
All right, as a Bills fan who loves watching entertaining Bills football, who didn't know after the Super Bowl years in that drought that you could win a game by scoring more than 18 points. I offer you this warning. Let's say that the Bills go out and they get themselves Vic Fangio or a Flores or whomever, and this defense is unbelievably good. That will determine how the offense gets run, and not in a good way, because if Sean McDermott can win football games 18-10, he will win. That guy touches himself at night to 18-10, 12-9 wins. He loves to win games that way. And here's the thing, man. Like, there was a point almost towards the end of the season where the Bills were only allowing like 15 to 20 points per game, right? Like, I mean, for all of the things, and you're right, down the stretch, things start to collapse. But then again, with all the things that the defense went through, with the injuries, and the 3 games in 12 days, and a guy having a heart stopping on the field, like, I don't know where the blame falls at the feet of Leslie Frazier and where the blame falls at the feet of the circumstances. And the argument that goes further too, and I've heard this, like, if you look at their season-ending losses every year, they've given up an average of like 29 points. Well, yeah, you're playing the best fucking offenses in the NFL. Of course, Pat Mahomes is going to score 25 to 30 points every time you play him. Of course, Joe Burrow is going to score 25 to 30 points every time you play him. Yeah. That's why you have Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs and Dawson Knox and Gabe Davis running down the field.
The two things to Kyle's point is, one, I think they're, whether you think it's a Band-Aid or not, is they bring in an Al Holcomb and they're like, we're going to keep our guy, but we're going to give in a fresh voice here to hopefully spice it up a little bit. And I think the defense has gotten most of the resources the past couple of years. There hasn't been a lot of premium draft picks going towards offense. And I think that's going to be a big twist coming in the next year or two. And then we'll see, if that defense really dips, I think,
Well, that's what's, I think, most concerning is up until this season, Brandon Beane seems to have gotten off scot-free with like kind of patchwork offensive line, but people are like, he's an amazing drafter, all this stuff. And I haven't lost faith in him. I'm not calling for him to get fired at all, but it is a little concerning the amount of draft picks put into the defensive line that have not remotely lived up to something. And at that point, are you like, okay, is it Beane scouting or is it the coaching? Some reason these guys aren't living up to that. And maybe Rousseau is a late first round defensive end coming off of 8 sacks. I think he's, fine. I'd like him to get a little better, but like, Ed Oliver, Epinesa, Boogie Basham, all guys that are just like, what's going on? None of these guys are taking this extra step to be even very good. Not even excellent, just very good.
Like, to your point, well, I mean, to the Boogie Basham point, the fact that Boogie Basham hasn't grown as defensive lineman is killing me, because one of my favorite things to say on Twitter when Boogie Basham does something well is, how do you make your defensive line dance? Put a little boogie in it. And when he doesn't do well, I don't get to use that awesome Twitter. But based on the history we've seen of Beane, it seems his only blind spots when it comes to talent evaluation are in the trenches. The offensive defensive line, the way that he's drafted defensive line in the last couple of years, I don't disagree with you. Boogie Basham in the 3rd round, AJ Epinesa in the 2nd round. The fact that, I mean, I love AJ Russo. I love Greg Rousseau. But, it did take someone like Von Miller coming in, and it seems helping him out both on and off the field to get him going. You look at the offensive line, and between the contracts for Feliciano and Butker, between letting Wyatt Teller walk in the COVID year, and he's now one of the best offensive linemen in the NFL playing for Cleveland. It's fair. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, he drafts people in the trenches the way I would if I got the job like the day before the draft. I'd be like, what's that guy, 7'9", 800 pounds? That's a tackle. Yeah, let's get him in here. He just draft the biggest guys available in the draft. And you're like, yeah, that'll work out.
But look, I mean, I think it is fair that he has weaknesses, right? But I don't disagree with you. Like, those are 2 spots it seems are glaring since he's taken over running this team.
Well,
and I wonder why. I wonder what is it just he doesn't have an eye for talent inside the trenches, that he's a better...
I will say, when he drafts them, I would say the majority of draft evaluators on Google, on Twitter.
Google,
stuff,
draft evaluators.
on Twitter, people who grade draft picks always generally give him a very good grade. So it's like, people agree that AJ Epinesa was a steal in the 2nd round. But looking back, you're like, well, is he now? Mm-hmm. People were, that year, if you guys remember, this is season review 3 years ago, he was supposed to be a 1st round pick. Mm-hmm. And then he fell to the late 2nd. And then, Basham too. People were super high on Basham as a 1st round pick. We got him late 2nd. And now it's just, I don't know, we said, I'm not calling for him to get fired, but.
A couple of things before we get to our question game to end here. Tom Brady finally retired, which kind of shocked. I thought he was going to do 1 more year. I thought for sure.
Talk to us after week 1.
Yeah, no, I'm with Kyle 100%.
I thought for sure he'd go to San Francisco. It was like.
He's going to San Francisco.
You still think he's going to San Francisco?
He's going, yes.
Oddly enough, Aaron Rodgers is going to an all darkness retreat. Tom Brady's going to where it's all light.
Oh, okay.
So we'll see. We'll see who's better.
A Trump rally. He's taking his little hat and he's going to where it's all white. Okay, I think he could be. I think he could be back. I think that's a nice take. That wouldn't shock me. Everything is lined up for him to go back to San Francisco, a team he rooted for when he was younger, and I'm shocked he didn't try and go for that currently.
Well, look, I mean, the motherfucker blew up his life, right? Like, your wife left you. Your kids are now not living with you anymore. You're being sued and investigated by the federal government for your involvement in a crypto scam company. You're going to walk out on the worst season statistically and record-wise of your NFL career. It doesn't make logical sense that you gave all of your life up to come back for the worst season of your career. You have an opportunity to ride out in the sunset with a ready-made team where literally the last pick in the draft took that team to the NFC Championship game, and you go, you know what, man, now I'm done.
Well, you know what? The 80 for Brady 2 doesn't write itself.
Jesus,
you know what I'm saying?
That movie, man. What the hell? Why? Anybody? Why?
It's crazy.
I mean, I at this point, I don't know who's going to see that, because I assume
it made money.
Boston hates him.
It did well. It did pretty well.
What's well?
I don't know. I think it made money.
I think Tom Brady rented out a few theaters.
I went to Google and I put in draft evaluators, and it told me it made money.
Something would come up if you Google draft evaluators. I bet you find some stuff out.
No, but they were constantly running that commercial for that movie towards the end of the season, like during the football games. And I can't figure out who the movie is for. Because to your point, he's not in New England anymore. So if I'm a New England fan, do I want to go watch a movie about old ladies trying to fuck Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski? Because that's what this movie's about, right? Old women who want to get fucked by Rob Gronkowski. Here's the other thing. I'm not 100% sure that Rob Gronkowski wouldn't have sex with all of those women in real life if they showed up in their locker room. He seems dumb enough.
I'm not sure I wouldn't.
But when it comes to the Venn diagram of football fan, elderly women who find Tom Brady attractive and would have sex with him, where in the middle is the key demographic that this movie is for?
There, I read a little bit of a plot review of it that made me laugh. Do you know the ladies, they changed the aspect of the game. So the Falcons are up 28-3, and I think one of the characters goes on the sideline and is like, what are you doing with cover 2? You got to run cover 1. And Matt Patricia's like, that's a good point. And then they start stopping him. It's like, oh, that weird. It's very weird.
Hey, maybe they should have talked to Matt Patricia about his offensive game plan this season.
And I think we could probably move on to the question game. Let's before the question game, we have our number one Patreon, David Sumner, has a blurb. This blurb does sound like I wrote it. You could tell he was at the bottom of the barrel with things to say. He said, everyone check out Sean's special on YouTube and subscribe to the In the Hunt YouTube channel. That does sound like I wrote that.
Oh, yeah.
And also, we meant to say we did Duffy, we did shirts, and Greg's not here to complain about this. Next episode, he'll probably talk about it. It was such a pain in the ass for him to send the shirts to everyone that we're discontinuing the shirts. So if you want a shirt, sign up for the Patreon by like March 1st. Because we're not doing any more shirts after that. So sign up for the Patreon, $3 and up, get last chance at t-shirts.
When you say it was such a pain in the ass,
Yes.
to write an address and put it in a bag, what is so hard about it?
Well, first of all, you know Greg. Yes, that is
Yeah,
hard.
I was going to say, we got to remember who did this.
Also,
fucking writing down numbers.
I had to, by the way, I had to make a Bills dough back in the day. I had to order a wooden dildo. Paint. I had to buy paint to drop into a bucket, spin it so it came out like Zuba's color, then ship a wooden dildo while handing it to a lady. And be like, here, don't feel around this bag. It's clearly a dick and balls.
Ship a wooden dildo sounds like a Gordon Lightfoot song.
But apparently it cost a lot of money, especially to ship to Canada, which we have a bunch of listeners in. So if you want a shirt, go sign up for the Patreon, $3 and up, but you only got a couple weeks left before that's
and you'll get your shirt in 4 to 6 months.
One more question. I get a shirt for $3 and up?
Yeah, pretty good deal, right?
Yeah, but we got to wait till the shirt pays itself off, so you can't get in and then cancel it. I'm very clear with our listeners. We will make a profit on some of these.
Because that was my plan. Like I would sign up just to fuck with Greg. 15 different Patreon subscriptions and just have them fucking sent all over the world, like Vietnam, Australia. Like I'd start my own micronation in like Central Europe called Fuck Greg. Right? I'd send it there, you piece of shit. Do it. Fucking do it.
And
I think we can spare one and send it to Duffy for his collection of jerseys.
Yeah, well, speaking of the jersey on the line today, who knows if he'll be back? Hopefully he will. Tremaine Edmonds. Tremaine Edmonds, do you have a Tremaine Edmonds jersey currently?
What kind of question is that, Sean?
Yeah, of course. Come on, Sean.
Okay.
I knew that.
Okay.
I got one of his dreads framed in a shadow box
No, you
hanging on
don't.
my wall. No, I don't. Look at that human hair on the wall.
I mean, dude, that was I thought for sure. If anyone had it, you would have it.
That's true.
Yeah, my season tickets were 3 rows back. I slowly crept up behind him and clipped it and ran away.
We only have one question today. I think it's fun. You're going to go back and forth, starting with Duffy. You're going to name any linebacker that has ever played for the Bills. First and last name. There's like 200 names. There's at least 40 gettable ones. So we're going to go back and forth until someone taps out. Any linebacker that has ever played for the Bills. What are you mumbling, Kyle?
Wait, can he write? That's not fair. That's not fair writing down. You got to.
Yeah, you can't write, Kyle. We're not letting you write.
Hold your hands up the whole time so I can say trust your ass.
All right, Duffy, you go first.
Matt Milano.
Tremaine Edmonds. I'm going to start going deep cuts just to prove to Duffy I know what I'm talking about.
Okay.
You want to have a linebacker off? Because I'll fuck with that shit. I'll fuck with that shit.
It's It's officially a linebacker off.
Sam Rodgers.
Oh,
Keith Ellison.
okay, hold on. Let me cross all these off the list. We got Sam Rodgers. I can't believe the second round was Sam Rodgers and Keith Ellison. Duffy,
Duffy and I are in the smallest dick showing competition or dick measuring competition.
Okay, first of all, we know Keith Ellison had a monster dick, so that was a really mean thing to say. Keith Newman.
Keith Newman. Wow.
53.
Wow. Okay.
Number one in your hearts.
I'll go Jeff Posey.
Ooh, that's a good one.
That is a good one.
All right, well, let's go the opposite side of the field, and we'll go London Fletcher just to get him out of the way.
Okay, London Fletcher. We like that.
All right.
Kyle.
Well, we'll round out the 2003 and 4 linebacker. I'll go Takeo Spikes.
Oh, you're okay, Mr. Deep Cut. Fuck
Well,
you, Kyle.
I wanted to round out those 3. They only played together for a couple years.
I'm going to show you, man. I'm going to show you. Joe Montana. Deep Cut NFL players.
Okay, Duffy, it's to you.
Let's go with former Michigan Panther of the USFL, Ray Bentley.
Wow. Okay, Ray Bentley.
I hope I'm saying this guy's name right. John DeGiorgio.
Ooh, that's a good one.
That is a good
That's
one.
a really good linebacker.
That is a good one, and a very Kyle one too.
Let's stick depth this season. A man who may have a bigger role next year is Terrell Bernard, right? Guy they drafted in the 4th, 5th round.
Good one, 3rd round pick.
There, okay. I should have just stopped talking.
Kyle.
I'm gonna go. I'll stay on this year's team. Tyrell Dodson.
Good. Well done.
Okay, let's start picking off Super Bowl Bills linebackers. We'll start with Darryl Taylor.
All right. Daryl Talley.
I'm gonna stay in the drought and go Paul Posluszny.
Man, that guy, oh my God, I hate him so much just because he was supposed to be everything to us, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like Polish, dumb looking, one of us, and he just, one contract, he was gone.
Yep.
God damn it.
And had a pretty good end of his career in Jacksonville there. So it sucked to watch him leave and be good.
Let's go with Cornelius Bennett over there.
Cornelius Bennett.
Okay.
What drought linebacker are you going with next?
Oh shit! I got it.
Should have wrote it down.
Oh my God, he filled in for London Fletcher when he left. I'm just gonna. This isn't him, but I'm gonna go Andre Smith.
Andre Smith. Yes, correct.
Yes. Okay.
By the way, there's been an Andre Smith that's played at every position for the Bills at some point in their history. So any position, you can just say Andre Smith, it's going to work. Okay, where were we at? Shit, I should have wrote this down. No, I forgot what we said already.
That's all right. I'll let you know if it's been said.
Let's go with, oh my God, why am I blanking on the former head coach for the Saints who was busted for taking steroids but didn't get thrown out of the league for, why am I blanking right now? Oh my God, Jad, no. Oh, that was a close one. Damn it! Oh no!
I don't even think you helped Kyle, so don't worry.
No.
Fuck! No, I'm not. I don't want to lose this.
I know who he's talking about. Shit. I think I got it.
Damn it! Listen to the best Bills podcast you can. 2 guys that can't remember one of the most famous Bills linebackers of all time.
Well, I always say we've said this story 1,000 times too, but we did a game of go back and forth name Bills players whose last name started with S, and it was Kyle and Matthew Fairborn, who rooks for the Athletic, and they said Antoine Smith, Fast Freddie Smith, no Bruce Smith.
It's tough when you're put on the spot. Okay, I got one.
Okay,
I might be out. I'm gonna be just stuck on that name, and I can't think of anybody else. I'm completely blanking on any other Bills line. Are we talking defensive ends too?
Well,
that's where it gets dicey.
Yeah, it does get a little dicey. This is according to Pro Football Reference. There are a couple defensive ends that we think of defensive ends that technically were also linebackers. So if you guess them, I'll let you guess a couple, and if you don't,
I'm going to throw one. And he's my favorite Bills player of all time just for his background. And I'm not sure if they counted him as a D end or an outside linebacker, but I'm going with Leif Larson.
Let me see if he's on here. I don't think they have Leif. Leif Larson is not on there, but that's a fair no. I'll give you another one. You get another one.
Fuck.
Because he could have been listed as a linebacker. He could have been listed as a linebacker.
I love how neither of you know who that is, but it's a fair guess.
Oh, I know who Leif Larson is. He
Okay,
was
good, I'm
he was a
glad.
big old boy. He was probably drafted by Brendan Bean.
Icelandic broke the NFL combine record for most. Bryce Fisher. How about that?
Bryce Fisher. Wow.
Air Force. He ended up having a nice career for the Rams and the Bills. He had to go do his service. He played in the 2 preseason games he was allowed to for 4 years, and the Bills let him walk.
I don't listen. I'm gonna look it up because there's no Bryce Fisher on here.
All right, look. Give Kyle a chance to win this because I think I might be fucking done here, and I'm upset with myself.
Bryce Fisher was a defensive lineman. They don't have him as a linebacker. Hold on. You know what I want to hold on. I want to do before I give it just to Kyle.
Third.
Because normally I stop. I give some hints to people here because there are some
hints. I got 2.
You got 2. Okay. Well, if you got 2, Kyle, let's. If you do 2, you win this.
Ooh.
All right. Angelo Crowell.
Oh, that's a good one.
That's a good one.
And Kawika Mitchell.
Damn it! How did I forget Kawika Mitchell?
The guy who you're talking about is Jim.
Jim Haslett. Jim Haslett.
I keep on thinking Hasselback, and it was I was like, it's Hass something.
No, Sean Payton has been in the news so much, and I hate Sean Payton so much. I could not get past Sean Payton's stupid face because they both wore visors in New Orleans. I know I'm an idiot, but that's why I got stuck. God damn it.
Well, let me give you some notable no-gets here. We have Lorenzo Alexander.
Love me some Zoe, man.
Kiko Alonso.
God, I hate that fucking guy.
Carlton Bailey.
Carlton Bailey!
Nigel Bradham.
Wait, hold on. You don't know Carlton Bailey?
No. Who was he? What team was he on?
He was in the Super Bowl years.
Oh no, I was too young.
I'm looking at you, man.
I do remember Nigel Bradham.
Yeah, of course you do. We have Preston Brown.
Preston Brown. His sister follows me on Twitter. No big deal.
Whoa.
We have
No big deal.
Zach Brown. We have another drought person, Marcus Buggs. We have Shane Conlon, Sam Powers. We have, who else do we have here? Hold on, there's a couple. AJ Klein, Manny Lawson, Mark Maddox, Paul McGuire, Tyler Mitkevich. They have technically Aaron Maben and Von Miller down here. Sean Merriman, Arthur Motes, Marty Schottenheimer, Balin Spector, Chris Spielman, Brandon Spikes, Brandon Spoon. And those were the notable misses.
Brandon Spoon looked like a character from a video game that didn't have the budget to finish their character. Like his neck was just like this long. He had no hair. His face was the most nondescript face of all time.
You know what I loved about the other Brandon Spikes is that was the first year it seemed like everyone was like, the Bills need a middle linebacker. And literally everyone, all the fans went, they should get Brandon Spikes. And then they did. And everyone was like, oh, look at that. And then he was pretty good. And we were like, look at this. It seems like we should make the call more.
Well, what an episode. Thanks for listening. Rate us, leave us a review on Apple Music. Follow us on Twitter, YouTube, all that shit. Emails inthehuntcast@gmail.com. Next episode is the best of in a couple weeks. So check that out. So
that'll be quick.
It's 4 minutes long. But Duff, do you have anything you want to plug here at the end?
Look, you can get me on Twitter at Duffy on WCMF. If you want to watch our morning show that we do out of Rochester, it's the best goddamn radio show on the planet, is what they make me say. You can watch a live stream now, 6 to 10, every morning at WCMF.com. So we'll be there. Look for my handsome face and my co-host Tommy and Kimmy. And when you guys talk to Greg next week, tell him that I got 2 kids. I was here. It's his show. He can go fuck himself. How about that?
Jeez.
That's great.
All right.
I'll tell him that word for word.
Yeah. And I was like, no, perfect. We'll play it.
Kyle, you have anything you want to plug?
Yeah, I believe. Yeah, I'm on a show at Helium on the 26th. I want to say it's a dirty show. So if you get offended, don't come.
Oh boy. I'm hosting in Helium Buffalo, a trivia comedy show. It's free. Wednesday, February 22nd. So come to that. It's free. It's trivia. There's comedy. I also host a Zoom trivia league every Tuesday for 8 weeks. That's fun. Message me for more info.
So
Duffy,
I saw
you have
that
something to say.
I saw you tweeted that out on Twitter that you have a Zoom trivia league.
It's true.
Why?
Because it's a lot of fun. I like trivia. And yeah, it's a good time.
How many people are in your Zoom trivia league?
We have like 9 teams, about 5, so like 50 people, give or take.
Okay. I thought I was sad because I still play beer league hockey at 36 years old. And I want you to know, Sean, you made me feel so much better about myself knowing that there are grown-ass people playing
listen,
trivia competitively.
There's stations of everything. We have at the top, the biggest nerd, Aaron Rodgers.
Okay.
Darkness. Then we have me, Zoom trivia. Then you have you, Bar League hockey. So we need people to kind of look up at and go, that person's a bigger nerd than I am. It makes the world go round,
Fair enough. Yeah. Fair enough.
Without me, you would be Aaron Rodgers, and you don't want that.
Let's not say things we can't take back,
guys. Thanks for listening. And that's it. Sweeto. See ya in a couple weeks. We love you. Sign up for the Patreon. Make Greg send you one more free t-shirt before he dies. All right, goodbye.
Gather round, ye mafia, and hear me tell my tale. How through ages on Erie shore those bills were doomed to fail. A kick off course forward is back, and says Berman, says he, you'll circle wagons Buffalo at least till 23. The past looms large like tattered signs for Barnes and Salino, but Allen and McDermott will bring cheer to Buffalo. They say his arm could cure cancer, but Bills fans need it more. This is our year, it has to be, dear God let it be our year. Take my tip before your trip to join the rock pile. Don't be a fan of Tom Brady, and Zubaz is still in style. You don't have to suck dick for a Kiko jersey, you can get one at the store. And dildos on the field, they're bound to occur. 13 seconds, the only thing that kept us from that bowl. This is the part where I shoehorn in a reference to no goal. Don't forget the Sabres still suck, but don't let it ruin your day. Harken to those shining Bills, there'll be no hockey in May. Go Bills!